All right, so Trump tells the Republicans to stand down and hold off on negotiating anything further for the next round of stimulus, and the left wing media loses its collective mind. And thank God he told them to stop. This is the most intelligent thing a politician has done through this entire COVID thing, other than the handful of governors who refused to lock down or enforce mask mandates. And granted, the whole reason Trump did it was to stick it to the Democrats. It wasn't actually for the right reasons, but whatever. At least it was done. The only thing that any of the stimulus has done is increase the national debt and inflate our currency and push more taxes onto us over the next years. Like nothing that's been done as far as all of this, the tax relief, the stimulus checks, all of this stuff. None of it is actually a free support for people who are hurting. It's just rolling back the fallout to next year or the following year. And I guess to an extent, I don't mind that because I'm kind of banking on the entire system's going to collapse in the next 5 to 8 years anyway. So does it really matter if the whole thing implodes in on itself and we get to start all over again? But in the longevity of things, if the country does if the country does survive all of this and comes out at least somewhat normal or for the better in the end of it, we still got to pay these bills. Like none of this stuff is going away. And the whole reason that this new round of stimulus has taken so long and is now basically being cast aside until after the election is because the Democrats won't play ball. The Republicans came out and offered a stimulus package to help people, and the Democrats came. I think it was 900 and something billion stimulus package, and the Democrats countered with like a $4 billion stimulus package that included all this pork and bailouts to Democratic states that have not Democratic states that have gone bankrupt because of COVID. Democratic states that were bankrupt before any of this happened because of decades of shitty legislation. And the Democrats saw this as an opportunity to say, hey, let's get all the money. Since we're just going to print all the money right now, let's get all the money we can and bail out these states so that they don't have to have any responsibility for the just piss poor business decisions they've been making for literally decades. And the Republicans said, no, we're not going to do that. So then it became that the Republicans were holding up stimulus for people who were hurting because of COVID. The only reason anybody's hurting because of COVID is because these tyrannical governors and the overreach of the government locking us down and making us all stay home and not letting people go to work. It's not because of the Republican senators and the government not giving us money. It's because of your state Democrat governors, and in the case of Indiana here, the Republican the Republican who's behaving like a Democrat and locking things down here, which is why Donald Rainwater has got a good shot at winning the gubernatorial race here in Indiana as a libertarian, because we've got a Democrat who's running, we've got the Democrat who's already in office, and then we've got the guy who actually gives a shit about the people in the Libertarian Party. Like, none of this stuff has anything to do with the Senate. It all came from the governors shutting down states and telling people you can't go to work. And then, or like Whitmer in Michigan, doubling down on that. The courts came out and said it was unconstitutional for her to put forth these executive orders. And then she says that she thinks the court is wrong, and she's adding more restrictions to more things. Once these people get power, they will never give it up, and they're showing that. Their true colors are showing here. There is nothing so permanent as a temporary government program. So all this stimulus, the Republicans came back after their 900 billion whatever stimulus package, and the Democrats balked at it and wanted 4 trillion. So the Republicans came back with like 1.2 trillion, added some stuff to it, and the Democrats came back with 3.8 trillion, and they didn't actually remove any of the stuff that has nothing to do with COVID relief for the people. So at this point, 2/3 of the Democrat stimulus is all for stuff that has absolutely no, like COVID did not have any effect on that. It's all pork. That's the way government programs work, and these are the people that the left wants running everything, like literally everything. That all they do is waste money. It's become a bad joke, and the fact that people haven't figured out that none of these politicians, and I don't give a shit if it's the right or the left, not a single damn one of them actually cares about us, the people. Like, the entire stimulus package thing is it's an appeasement to try to get you to think that they do care about you, so you'll continue to vote for them. And for the Republicans. And then the Democrats, it's a fight to pretend that they care more about you than the Republicans do, and that you need to vote for them instead. And in reality, neither one of them care about any of us. They are sheltered and protected in their little bubble that they will never, ever pay a single dime of any of this debt that the nation is taking on. They can rack it up and never be responsible for it because they're insulated. They are the power. They don't have to suffer the consequences of their piss poor decisions. That's us. And the only way we can stop them from making these decisions is to go vote every one of these fuckers out. Now, this is the year to get every one of them out. No incumbents, period. There should not be a single incumbent reelected this year. They are all awful. We've got to get these people out of office because they will continue to run our lives into the ground. It is nepotism and just awful in every way. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is Nancy Pelosi's nephew, I think. Like, the level of inbreeding and nepotism that runs through every level of government should be embarrassing. Like, if people were doing this stuff in like big public businesses, there would be all kinds of outrage. People would be like, "Oh, that's shady and that's criminal and that's dirty." But when the politicians do it, nobody cares. We should hold ourselves to a higher standard, and we should hold them to a higher standard. And it starts by getting every last one of them out now. This is the year to do it. The only wasted vote is a vote for a Democrat or a Republican or an incumbent. If you're voting for somebody that's been in office for 30 or 40 or 50 years, if you're voting for somebody that's been in office for the last 8 years, you are wasting your vote on people that do not give a shit about you. It is time to get out there and get them out. It's time to put people who actually are of the people in positions of power so that we can start to have a true voice in our nation's capital and in our state capitals. Go vote. I'm going to do it today. Have a good one.